What if I told you that a simple patch could activate your body's own stem cells, reduce inflammation, and even support your fertility journey? I didn't believe it either until I experienced it firsthand. Today I'm joined by Renita Brannan to talk about phototherapy, stem cell activation, and why this natural approach is changing lives. If you're struggling with inflammation, fertility challenges, or just want to feel your best, you don't want to miss this episode. Feeling like this whole baby making journey is never going to work out? You've done it all, diet changes, supplements, tracking your cycle, and yet the pregnancy test is negative. It's so frustrating, and you're asking yourself, why isn't this happening for us? I'm Susan Gladstein, a holistic fertility coach and mom to 7, including 2 miracle babies after a vasectomy reversal, and I get it. Being told everything looks fine by doctors while still feeling stuck can leave you feeling hopeless and confused. On this podcast, I'll share practical, natural ways to support your fertility without all the overwhelm. Forget the everything's normal talk and the rush into fertility treatments. I'm here to show you a better way. If you're ready to take practical steps that fit with God's plan for your family, you're in the right place. I truly believe that you can have the baby you've been praying for. I'm so excited because I've recently discovered something that's changed my life in pregnancy. I was dealing with all of this just pain. Okay, if you've never felt like your legs are being ripped apart in late pregnancy, let me tell you, it's terrible. And I've discovered these phototherapy patches that took my pain away and led me back to riding my bike and being active instead of crawling around like a 90-year-old woman. And I have Renita here who is like, okay, let me just be honest. Like my adult son totally like has a crush on you and thinks you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And he wants to meet
That's
you so
hilarious.
bad. He watches all of your videos. But I'm excited to hear from you because you have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge of testimonials and how these phototherapy patches have changed lives. And I'm so excited to have you here and just spread the light and love with us.
I love it. Thank you for having me, Susan. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this for weeks, ever since we met and talked, and you expressed what the patch has had done for you, and then talked about your beautiful community that you're inspiring and motivating with all these couples, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, do they know about phototherapy? Do they know about photobiomodulation? Because as you said, it is life altering. I mean, it is such a miracle, such a blessing for those who grab hold of this modality of treatment. People don't know about light therapy. They've never heard the word photobiomodulation. It sounds like a really big word, but it's just light therapy. So it's different forms of light therapy and light frequencies that are affecting our health, right? And we've always known this because we've always known that we go in the sun and we just feel better, right? And it's balancing our hormones. And now the latest science is proving that it actually balances our microbiome when we get in the sun. And so, I mean, it's coming whether we want it to or not. But I feel like you knowing this is cutting edge for your community, for all of those moms and dads and families, really. It's really for families that are looking for a natural solution to, like you said, reduce pain, to minimize inflammation, to activate and regenerate our bodies, even our stem cells, right? So this is the power of these patches. So I'm so excited to be here with you today. Thanks for having me.
Oh, okay. Well, even just talking about being out in the sun. So in 2020, when the world was shutting down and I had nothing better to do, I personally rediscovered my love of bike riding. So I bought a bike and I was outside every day. And I couldn't remember a time in my life where I had felt so euphoric since I was a kid. And I
Wow.
attributed that to just being out in the sun because I had spent so many years just going like from work to home to the office back home and not being outside in nature. And when there was no alternative and I discovered it, like now it's a practice that I've implemented in our whole family. Like we are outside on the regular, but it was like, it really took the record scratch of COVID to kind of like shake up my routine to realize what I had been missing out on. And wouldn't you know, I got pregnant right away. So
See, I
after
mean,
two
there's
years
something
of
to
trying, and
this.
I wholeheartedly believe that even though I live in Arizona, I think I was vitamin D deficient and nobody was
Mm,
there to sort of catch that. And obviously, I was de-stressing a lot. There was a lot of things foundationally that I was doing differently in the 2 years leading up to that point. But
right.
man, did I just feel like $1 million just being out in the sun. So these
It's so
patches,
true.
like I feel that, even as, being 8 months pregnant and feeling tired and keeping up with a very active toddler, I'm
Right.
still out riding my bike and my sleep has gotten so much better since I started the patches because pregnancy insomnia was hitting me hardcore. And now I'm not
Wow.
feeling that so much. So tell me, how did you get into this?
Well, I've always kind of been a sun chaser, number one. And number two, I've always been in alternative natural modalities of healing. So I've been a nutrition health coach, clinical exercise specialist for 25 years. I mean, my passion is I'm kind of obsessed with getting people well. I mean, that's just my obsession. I love it. I love the Lord as well, but I love getting people well. And I feel like wellness on this planet is pretty important. And we're here for a season and let's make it good. And so, about I would say 20 years ago was where I really stepped into natural health and healing. I was a new mom. Our oldest son was 2.5. I did not know anything like I know now. I have three boys. They're 25, 18, and 16. I was scared. I was a scared new mom. You know how they scare you. And so I was literally, got his vaccines. Like every time he was sick, I would run him in to get him on antibiotic. And so that's my oldest son. And I figured out, and after about 2.5 years of doing that, that it wasn't working. Like the kid was getting sicker. It was just really awful. And to be honest with you, Bo, when he was really little, looking back at it, he was colicky. So he probably had a microbiome issue out of the gates. And so, knowing what I know now about the gut brain axis and the whole microbiome and how light affects that, I probably would have done things much differently. But, it's what you learn on the journey that can help and bless so many people, which is why we're here. So, I went back to school to get my doctorate in holistic nutrition and naturopathy. After I had graduated with a bachelor's degree, I thought to myself, I'm going to go back and be a naturopathic doctor. And I learned enough. I went to about 4 years of school after my bachelor's. And after that, at the school I actually was going to actually close this natural health school, this college. And I was about 4 years in, and I had learned enough to make me somewhat dangerous to the medical establishment. I learned that there are so many ways that our bodies can naturally restore and regenerate and rebuild, like without the use of drugs. And I'm not saying we don't need drugs. Sometimes, as an intervention, they're necessary for a season. But for long-term health and vitality, we've got to go back to some of these natural ways to heal because they're so easy, they're so affordable, and families need to know about this stuff. So I think my passion really evolved from my son being sick. When we have a family member that's not well, we kind of we're just all in, right? And so I was just dedicated to finding out what was going on. He had allergies, they told us. And anyway, we had him on Zyrtec for 2 years, which stunts kids' growth. Hello. And then again, just the microbiome that was probably so messed up from so many antibiotics. And then I read this book about vaccines when he was supposed to go in to get his next set of vaccines, like at 2.5 or whatever. And I realized I'm not vaccinating anymore. I can always vaccinate later. I'm just not going to do it right now. And I just need to learn more before I march on in there and inject all these heavy metals and chemicals into my baby or my toddler, right? And so it taught me enough to know that I needed to ask a lot more questions before I was just so willing to inject those things, because so many of those now we know, I mean, there's causing irreversible damage, right? So that's kind of where my journey began with phototherapy. I've always been a connoisseur of light. I've always known that when my family has gotten in the light. We felt better. We live in North Dakota. So Susan, you are blessed and highly favored to live down in AZ. I'm thankful my oldest lives down there now, so I can shoot down on a quick flight. But in North Dakota, we don't get adequate vitamin D except for August up here. That's the only month that we actually get vitamin D. So if we are not consciously doing things to increase this, and like you said, you lived in Arizona, but you weren't outside enough to actually be taking in this beautiful gift that God has given us called the sun, right? That activates so many healing mechanisms in our body. Anyway, and so for me, the journey began with just always being a seeker of alternative solutions, natural solutions, healthy solutions, non-invasive solutions, solutions that my kids can use, that it doesn't require something complicated, right? And so we came across the LifeWave phototherapy technology 2 years and about 7 months ago now. And I was actually seeking solutions for my mom and my dad. So your aging parents, if any of you have those, or grandparents. And again, Susan, I just believe in generations of health. So I believe like in healthy grandmas and grandpas, healthy moms, healthy children, like generation after generation, we really can take back our power and heal. Like it is just time to do so, right? And so I was seeking solutions for my mom. She had been diagnosed with Parkinson's 9 years ago. My dad was dealing with a very ugly, oozing, goozing, swollen leg problem, and that was not subsiding. And so we were doctoring, of course, with traditional doctoring. Nothing was working. And a friend of mine actually out of Canada, she's a nurse up there who actually escaped the very broken, corrupt medical system up there and now does like more emotion code, body code, helps a lot of families and things like that. She actually called me up one day and she said, you have got to try this phototherapy patch. And I said, well, what is it? And she said, it's a patch. You just wear it on your body. And she said, I think it's going to help your mom with her Parkinson's. I said, you're kidding. She said, no. She said, my neighbor lady who has Parkinson's, she's been using it and we're seeing downright miracles. And I said, Doris, you had me at miracles. And so we kind of got started on the journey because of my aging parents, right? And just amazingly, miraculously, it worked. I mean, my mom on the 11th day was walking without her walker. Her voice came back. Her penmanship came back. Her ability to peel potatoes came back. Up until she put the patch on, she was pretty much wasting away with that Parkinson's. She was down to like 97 pounds. And when she put the patch on, she went all the way back up to 123. And her massage therapist was actually rubbing her legs saying, oh my gosh, I can feel your muscle, Pearl. Your muscle is back. What are you doing? So the massage therapist got on the phototherapy patches because mom's muscle was back in her legs. And so we saw that miracle with my mom. And then we saw the miracle with my dad, completely overnight transformed. I mean, when I say transformation, that's exactly what it was. His legs, they went from like dripping and being severely swollen. And like, he was pretty much an agony. He's 80. To overnight, all of the swelling was gone. All of the dripping had dried up. I mean, it was like a complete transformation in 24 hours. And so when I saw those two things happen with the elderly, I just thought, what's it going to do for everybody else? Like, what's it going to do for my kids? What it's going to do for my athletes that have inflammation? Because we don't want them to take the acetaminophen or the ibuprofen anymore. Like, what is it going to do for moms? What's it going to do for new moms? You know what I mean? I just started, I mean, it was like the sky was the limit, right? Because you just start thinking, if it did that to the elderly that is really beat up after 80 years, they really abused their bodies, what's it going to do for everybody else? And honestly, Susan, at the time, I didn't understand fully what phototherapy was in that patch. Like, I'm well aware of it outside, right? Like I said, you know, now they're telling us that vitamin D from the sun totally balances our microbiome, right? Which is probably why you were riding bike and then you were pregnant. Right? She's riding bike in the sun, and the next thing you know, she's pregnant. It makes sense, right? And so it does so much for us. But I had never experienced phototherapy in a patch. Most things I had been exposed to needed like a plug-in, right? Like red light therapy. I mean, that's pretty common and familiar right now. People understand that therapy because they got red light panels and red light beds and whatnot. But they have a plug-in. They're like a 110 or 220 volt plug-in, And so I had seen therapies like that and had used therapies like that, but I had never seen a phototherapy patch that the thing that was activating the patch to work was my own body heat, my own body light was activating the patch to work. And for me, that was like beyond amazing. I'm like, you're giving your body a set of instructions to heal with light. I mean, I don't know if it gets much cooler than that. Like, you don't have to ingest it. You don't have to open your mouth. There's no needles. Like, it's literally, you take the back of this patch off, and my dad calls it a sticker. You take the back of the sticker off, and you can literally put it anywhere on your body, and it goes to work regenerating. I mean, so for me, it's affordable. It's so easy to use that our little kids can use it, right? Old people can use it, athletes can use it. I mean, really, everybody can use it. It's just that simple. It's affordable. I mean, I know the cost of red light therapy. I know the cost of, the medical industry. And this is less than a Starbucks a day to be regenerating and activating so many healing mechanisms in our body. So, yeah, that's kind of how I got started. It's a long answer, but it led us to this moment where we realized, who else can we help with this technology? What else can we see? What other miracles are going to be transforming here, because we're willing to share something that has radically changed our lives, just like you said. And so that's where we're at.
I love it. So when I kind of went through the same thing where I was like, I cannot believe overnight. I mean, I was crippled and hobbling around and was like in tears. I blame
Mm.
hormones and whatever, but like in tears that I still had so much longer to go in my pregnancy and I was just over it and I wasn't enjoying it the way that I wanted to. And I was heartbroken over that. It's like, I'm 44 years old. Like, is this really what life is? This all there is to life? Like I really wanted to feel good. And I mean, literally overnight, the pain was gone. I also have appreciated that my 22-year-old son has complimented me numerous times on how great my skin looks in just a
Wow.
short
Yeah.
amount of time of wearing them. Um, but I would love for you to sort of break down, what does stem cell activation actually mean, and why are they so critical for things like health, fertility, inflammation, all the things?
Absolutely. So, with the LifeWave patches, there's a variety of patches. There's 10 patches that you can use. The one that really changed the game for me and for you and for most people is this X39. And this patch, first, a little bit about the company. It's a 21-year-old company. So this phototherapy concept is not like something that came out yesterday, right? I mean, it's 21 years old, this company, and it's a debt-free company. They're going to do $1 billion this year. They're in 80 different countries around the world. So this thing is tried, tested, proven, 95 clinical studies, 180 patents later, we have these incredible patches. But 4 years ago, the founder launched the X39 patch. And that is the patch that amazingly activates this peptide. It's called GHKCU. And in all honesty, Susan, when I saw what happened to my mom and my dad, I was like sitting back thinking, how did this just happen? Like, these are two radically different things, right? Like Parkinson's and then these oozing, goozing legs. Like, it's not even the same spectrum, right? It's not like, okay, this person had a skin condition and so did this person, right? It's like completely different things. So in my mind, I'm like, how did that patch do that? Because my friend Doris, the nurse out of Canada, never quite explained how it was working. She just said it worked. You always have those friends that you just trust because they're like the wise old owls. And that was Doris. She just was so rock solid, Christian lady, just super loving and super knowledgeable. So I knew that it had worked, but in my mind, I'm like, how did that just happen with these two people? Right? It's so crazy. And so very quickly, I went to work investigating because I'm kind of like that. I'm a research hound. And I went to work and I found out, wow, these X39 patches are activating a peptide known as GHKCU. And if you don't know what a peptide is, peptides are naturally produced in our body. So like collagen is a peptide, Insulin is a peptide that most people are familiar with, right? So we have all of these peptides, and peptides are just strings of proteins or amino acids strung together. So think of protein. You know what a protein is: protein, fat, carbohydrate. Strings of proteins linked together, and that forms these peptides. So we all innately have these peptides inside of us, right? We're born with peptides. And generally what happens is as we age, we produce less and less of the peptides, like collagen, for example. We produce less of that, which is why your skin starts to sag and drag, right? We produce less insulin as we age, which is why a lot of people midlife or around that time start to develop maybe blood sugar issues or metabolic issues, right? And so or start to gain weight. And so GHKCU is actually a peptide that's in our bodies. It's like an endogenous peptide that's in us. And what happens is as we age, it of course decreases. The amazing thing about this particular peptide, it's been clinically proven. 51 years ago, there was a great doctor, amazing doctor. If you guys have not researched this guy, he's one to look at. Dr. Lauren Picard. It's Pikart. But Dr. Picard actually went to work researching this GHKCU peptide because he knew it had so much potential in the human body. He just wanted to find out like exactly what it was doing, right? And so 51 years ago, he did his research and he found that it did everything from increase, of course, your skin, which is why your son is complimenting you, to hair, to nails, connective tissue. It actually lowers fibrinogen levels, which is the top predictor of heart disease and heart attacks. It also helps to regulate 700 nervous system genes. Some people are having infertility issues because of stress. Hello, right? And so if we can help to regulate and modulate those nervous systems right there, it's going to probably improve the chances, I'm guessing. And so it also helps to repair stomach lining. It helps to repair bony tissue, intestinal health, brains. I mean, so the list goes on and on and on, but he literally found all of this incredible documentation. In fact, he found this GHK copper peptide, GHKCU, to be the #1 solution for stomach cancer and the #1 solution for lungs, especially like COPD. In fact, I just was on the road from like the top of the US to the bottom of the US and met a young girl who was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis at age 7 months and now is in her teens. And since she's had the patch on, she has had not a single breathing treatment. She's not needed one, right? So then when I say families need to know about this, families need to know about this, right? And so we see pretty miraculous things with a lot of stuff. Susan, I wish I could just say it was fertility. I mean, I feel like, yeah, that's probably a fact, but it's all things. It's like, it's kind of this internal healing switch. When you switch it on, the body says, oh, I'm supposed to go to work at doing this cascade of miracles, one of which is activating your own stem cells. So this GHKCU actually activates your own stem cell creation. So instead of stem cells, from an outside source, like an injectable, which costs, thousands of dollars, there's always a risk for infection. And I'm always very skeptical because I'm like, what's in the needle? Like, what's in the needle? I don't believe an aborted baby fetus is in the needle, okay? Because I'm Christian and there's like this moral and ethical issue, right? But with this patch, when you put it on, it activates the GHKCU copper peptide. So that peptide that's already in our bodies, that's just kind of slowed down because of the aging process. And it just upregulates it. So then our bodies become like these regenerating machines. It's unbelievable. So most people don't know by age 30, which is super young, you've got a 60% reduction of this stem cell activity happening. So we're pretty much stem cell making machines, Susan, until the age of 20. So this is why kids generally heal very quickly, right? Unless it's some, dis-ease or something else that's come in like through pregnancy or something like that. But for the most part, children are amazing, miraculous healers, right? And God designed our bodies as such. And what happens at age 21 is those numbers, those regenerative cells slow down. So, and I always think, my gosh, at 21, that's already happening, right? And so by age 30, you've got a 60% reduction of that activity, which is huge. I mean, which is why people kind of get the gray hair, they slow down, they don't recover as quick, they maybe start to pack on some pounds. Maybe they start dealing with just some weight issues, right, in their 30s. And so, and by age 40, you've got an 80% reduction of the stem cell activity. I mean, think about how young you are having this yet another beautiful baby at your age in the mid 40s. And I just think, thank God you could put a patch on that's actually helping to regenerate many of those healing mechanisms that are built in your body. You're just helping to turn them on because they've been like sitting dormant for a while. So stem cells are literally the fountain of youth in our body, and they are our very first thing when a baby is created, when you're creating that baby in your womb, the first cell created is a stem cell. And then that stem cell divides and becomes every single organ tissue is literally made by a stem cell, which is why I tell my 25-year-old son when he gets a little mouthy with me, be careful, you were my first stem cell. Okay. You were my very first stem cell, Bo. So you better be nice to your mama.
That's right.
Yeah, I love it. So that's kind of in a nutshell what the stem cells are doing. They're doing a lot of good internally, many things that we're not necessarily seeing outwardly. Now I'm looking at you and you're like so beautiful and so young looking. And I too feel like my skin has aged in reverse. And people say, you're like glowing. And I'm like, I swear it's the patch, right? So these people that wear the patch continuously, they just have this beautiful glow or countenance about them where they just honestly, they look amazing. You know what I mean? Their skin and their hair and their nails and everything just look amazing. So a lot of those age spots start to disappear. Some of those wrinkles are gone. And it's actually just really great, all in all, for blood flow as well. I should say that because when you look at the nervous system, like all the nerves in our body and everything that's made of, even like our, GHKCU copper peptide helps with collagen production. People don't realize that your veins and your arteries are made of collagen. Many of our organs are made of collagen, right? So it's not like just a beauty product. It's kind of an internal repair product. You know what I'm saying? But again, we're doing all of this not with a pill, not with a drug, not with a needle, not with a prescription. We're doing this with a simple little phototherapy patch the size of a quarter. You can put it anywhere in the body and it literally goes to work for you because, God designed our bodies to heal. I mean, we all know this, right? God designed our bodies to heal. Our bodies are pretty miraculous at healing. And all this does is when you put that patch on, the stem cells know where they need to go and regenerate and repair, right? And so what got me really fired up when we were talking was like, this vasectomy reversal thing where you said it takes 90 days to get the sperm count up or whatever you said. And I thought to myself, I think if we patch these guys, they're going to be creating sperm faster. Like
Yeah.
super sperm. Here we go.
That's what I was so excited about, Justine, because when I started on my holistic journey, I had come to the conclusion that I don't think that God made any mistakes when he created our bodies. So he wasn't like, shoot, I left something out and I need, big pharma to come in
Yeah.
and aid it. And so it really got me questioning a lot of the things that I had been taught. I personally had a vaccine adverse reaction and had to do a metals detox, like lost my whole health. I really thought I would never feel good again. And
Wow.
thankfully I've been completely healed from that. But that was the thing that led me on this path of realizing like the Lord didn't make any mistakes. And so when I heard about the differences of all these different testimonies, your parents and others, guys that my husband works with at the fire department who's torn shoulders and were healed and were able to avoid surgery. I'm like, what else can this do? And so I got really curious on the fertility side, obviously, since that's my passion, bringing all the little babies into the world so I can love them from afar in a non-creeper way, of course. But inflammation is such a major problem for our society, whether it's environmental toxins, stress is a huge, I will say, the majority of my clients that I see are given very dire statistics on their chances to conceive. And
Wow.
I'm a firm believer that if the Lord has placed it on your heart and you're doing your part, you will get the baby you've been praying for.
Come
It may not be
on.
in the time frame that you think it will be.
I love
It may
that.
not look the way you think it should, but it will happen. And so I'm excited to just be like, here's something like naturally that your body can do to
Mm,
increase your chances. That's not, I mean, I always get the question like, what supplements should I take? And I'm kind of like, well, what else are you doing in life? Like, how's your diet? How's your sleep? How's your stress? Like all of these other things. Let's get
mhm,
the foundations right before we add in and spend who knows how much on supplements. But inflammation is such a huge thing. Stress is such a huge thing. I have lots of clients with endometriosis and
mm.
sperm quality issues. How have you seen the patches help regulate inflammation, or what kind of, impact would that have on somebody's
Mm.
fertility journey? Obviously, recovery from surgery is huge for a lot of my clients, but just day-to-day inflammation.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's amazing, right? So if we can reduce the overall inflammatory markers of our body, I mean, everything's going to function better, right? I mean, we know that the root cause of most of our disease states is going to be chronic inflammation. So just literally lowering that, shutting that down, pulling the body back to a parasympathetic state. There also is a patch that LifeWave has that works very wonderfully with the X39 called Eon. And that Eon patch actually pulls the body back to the parasympathetic state. So sympathetic state is like the cortisol driven state, the fight or flight. Like you're going to go chase something to kill it and eat it, right? Like in the olden days, like it's literally like you're ready to run a race. You know what I mean? Your body's in that fight or flight state. Well, most disease states, whether it be polycystic ovarian syndrome or endometriosis or anything really. I mean, any disease state is going to be like the body is stuck in that hypervigilant state. So it's stuck in that cortisol driven state. So anytime we can, I always think about it like taking the brick off the gas pedal, like, right, let's just take the brick off the gas pedal for a moment here. And so that the body can kind of reset itself. Because again, God designed our bodies to heal. And so what the Eon patch does is within 15 to 30 minutes of putting that Eon patch on, it literally transforms the body and pulls it back to that parasympathetic state. I mean, this is measurable. You should see the studies on this, Susan, and maybe you have. They're so beautiful, but it's literally like this. I mean, they're looking at humans, they're looking at horses, they're looking at all these animals. By the way, the patches are for all mammals, and so like you see all this chronic red, crazy inflammation going on, and then they put an Eon patch on, and like in 15 minutes, it's all gone. All of the red is gone. So it literally is taking this body and pulling it from that sympathetic state where it's in that fight or flight back to the parasympathetic state, which is called rest and repair or rest and digest, right? And when you're in that rest and repair state, that's where the magic actually happens. That's where the healing can happen in the body. But I think what happens with modern medicine is people are all in this super cortisol driven state all the time. And then they just give them pills, like, right, but they don't talk a lot about like, okay, we need to pull you back to parasympathetic. It was actually a veterinarian. Our dog Nike got hit by a truck and we dashed her to the vet. She was bleeding out of every orifice, and the veterinarian actually said, I'm not sure if your dog's going to make it overnight because she has so much trauma on her lungs from the impact of the truck. He said, but we'll give her electrolytes, we'll keep her overnight. And he said, if there was a way that we could pull her back to the parasympathetic state, this is what the vet said to me. He said, because when she's stuck in that sympathetic state, that body's just going to be on overdrive with all those blood clots. If there was a way that we could just pull her back to the parasympathetic state, and I looked at the vet and I said, I've got something. And he's like, what do you got? I said, have you heard of phototherapy? He said, I have. I said, I have a phototherapy patch that will help Nike, her name is Nike, to pull back to that parasympathetic state within 15 minutes. He's like, you're kidding me. I was like, no. I said, can I go home and grab the phototherapy patches? He said, you can do whatever you want. And so we left her overnight. I had her all patched up. And literally when we came back the next morning, this was the vet that said, I'm not sure if she's going to make it. Nike came running out, jumped on us. The vet actually said, I've never seen a transformation like this in all my years of being a veterinarian. He said, there is something to what you put on that dog. And I said, yeah, there is. And he goes, and by the way, because what was happening is when she got hit, her highest marker was her liver enzymes, which a lot of people have high liver enzymes, right? They call it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And so that's causing a problem in people's bodies as well, right? It's a chronic inflammatory state. He said, if we could get her liver enzymes down by pulling her back to the parasympathetic state, it would be wonderful. That's what he had said the day before. We need those liver enzymes to come down, to pull back to that parasympathetic state. And I said, I have a patch that can do that. And literally the next day he said, I have never in all my years of being a vet have seen liver enzymes drop like that. And so and so this is my dog, right? This is my dog. So, I mean, again, we're talking old people, young people, pregnant people. So back to like the polycystic ovarian, syndrome or the endometriosis or really anything female related. I feel like, again, the combination of X39 along with that Eon patch would be miraculous for most because it's going to take the brick off the gas pedal to pull that body back to that rest and repair finally, right? We need to be there to be actually getting pregnant. And honestly, when you were going for those bike rides every day with that breathing, that was probably pulling your parasympathetic state back into check. True story. Between the sunshine and the breathing, if you look at it now, that deep, good breathing was actually pulling the body back into that parasympathetic state. And then bam, you're pregnant. So there's something to all of this, right? So you could go out and go for bike rides like you're doing, and maybe people want to do that. They should do that, but put a patch on too, because that Eon can do it so quickly in 15 to 30 minutes just to start that reparative process. And then when you put X39 on, it literally, you don't have to fight that inflammation then. Because that Eon pulled that layer of inflammation, like, okay, now we actually can find where those stem cells need to go, right? And it can go and restore and regenerate those organ systems that need the help. So yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome to talk about and think about.
It is. The more I dive into this, the more I'm mind blown, which I don't know why, because I know that God's creation is amazing and perfect, and man's gone in and messed it all up. But I'm just like, even from, the inventor and creator of these patches, like, his belief system and where he comes from, like, I've been just so impressed from the top down and hearing miracle story after miracle story. And I'm a big fan of all the miracle babies because, I mean, in reality, conception in of itself is a miracle.
Is a miracle.
The fact that you're taking like essentially two pieces of hair and putting them back together to regain fertility in a male is like mind blowing that that's even possible. And then on top of just what it takes to create life, it's so amazing and miraculous. And I'm so excited to like share it with all the people. But there are some people I know who are, let's say, skeptical of non-traditional therapies. What would you say to those people who are maybe curious, but also hesitant?
I love skeptics. I don't work well with cynics. But skeptics, I work real well with because I think we should be skeptical. I think like after the last 7 years, we need to be asking more questions, right? We need to be skeptical and investigating our own health journey, right? I think for so long, people have relied so heavily on their doctors or, the system. And the truth is we've got to take back our power by believing we can. And so I feel like being somewhat of a researcher is a great thing. And the thing of it is, like you said, the more you research, the more you look at the clinical evidence of LifeWave, the more you see the patents, the more stories you hear. It's not like your belief, gets more shallow. It's like explosive. Your belief gets explosive because it's like every step of the journey, this just gets better and better and better. You know how sometimes when you see a company, you're like, oh, I like that, but I don't really like that. Or I like this part of it and I don't care for that. It's like everything that you're learning, every step forward, you're like, this is even more unbelievable, right? And as you walk on that journey and walk it out, you'll just see it. And, we have great resources for those people that are skeptical. They can go to thisisitinfo.com And on there, you're going to have everybody from medical doctors to David Schmidt to naturopaths to integrative physicians to cardiologists. I mean, all kinds of really medical professionals, if that's what you're looking for. And also at thisisitinfo.com, at the very top, you can click on testimonials. And testimonials is a huge eye opener because the anecdotal evidence is something I've never seen in my life. I mean, I've been in health and wellness for 25 years. I have never seen the amount of anecdotal. So we've got the actual clinical studies, but the anecdotal evidence is mind boggling because it's like thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are having these, I mean, extraordinary results. And so when you go to thisisitinfo.com and then click on testimonies at the top, I mean, you can click on everything from children to eyes, to heart, to bladder, to sleep. I mean, all of it is there. And I feel like they need to add a new category called babies, making babies, the making babies category, right? We need to get that up and on there as soon as we have some great testimonials, because again, when you were talking about, getting that sperm count up to, with 90 days, I thought, oh my gosh, put a patch on it. They're going to be like super sperm, superpower sperm. Like it's going to come up so fast and they're going to get probably, hopefully, by the grace of God, pregnant faster than they ever could even think, ask, or imagine. Right. And so it does get you excited of the possibilities, and not to say not even after the baby's born, all of the great healing effects that the patches have to offer for so many families. But just even on the journey to that pregnancy. Right. So I love that. I love all of that. But yeah, I encourage people, here's the thing. People don't know what they don't know. I don't care how smart you are. I've got friends that have 4 medical degrees, right? 4 different types of medical degrees. And they say to me all the time, Renita, I don't know what I don't know. So there's just some areas of life, no matter how smart you are, that you just have not walked that out yet or done much research or read much on it yet. But I feel like we're coming into this light era, right? Where everything that was once in darkness is now being brought into the light. So people are getting a really quick education, I feel. And those that are seeking the alternative solutions, wow, are they about to be so extraordinarily impressed and thankful that they're using this patch. So, you've got nothing to lose. The patch has a 30-day money back guarantee. So if they don't like it on day 29, just get your money back.
Yeah.
But truth is, you're probably not going to like it. You're going to love it. And you're going to be talking about it with your friends and family members by then, because you will feel different. You will feel better. The sleep for me was a big deal. And I wasn't a good sleeper. And literally 4th day, boom, slept through the night for the first time in 9 months. So there is something to this patch, right?
There is.
We just want people trying it themselves and then letting us know the miracles that they're experiencing.
Yes, I'm almost like selfishly curious. Like I really do want to see someone's semen analysis like after they've been patching. Like, can you come and just let me experiment and do my own trials to see how this works? Because I mean, even thinking about like testimonial wise,
Wow.
you don't always know like the how on how something works, how, how God created our bodies or whatever. I mean, even thinking about the blind man and when Jesus, like, seriously, he spit in some mud and rubbed it on his eyes. And everybody kept wanting to know, how did it happen? How did it happen?
Right.
How did it happen? And his response is, I don't know. I was blind, but now I see. And that was
Right.
all that he could
Wow.
give. And so I love, like, yes, go binge on some testimonials, because you may not know the how, you may not understand stem cells and how they work and regenerate and all of that. But when you see how people's lives have completely transformed, their health has transformed like generationally. I mean, that's always been my goal, is like when I'm 80, 90 years old, I want my grandkids to be like, wow, grandma really wore me out today. I'm going to need a nap. So like I make my day-to-day decisions and work towards who do I want to be, 40, 50, 60 years from now. And I want to live a long time. And I heard David Schmidt talk about that, like in the days of Noah.
That's right.
So my husband and I have this thing like, oh, we're going to live to 100. And he's like, am I selling myself short? Maybe I should say 120.
Yeah, I say 120. I've been walking around saying, I've been saying that for 10 years. I'm going to live to be 120. And now I actually really believe I'm going to live to be 120 because I feel like now I've actually got a tool that is restoring and regenerating my youth. So, I mean, this is a no-brainer for me. Like, I'm like, yes, I am all in all the time. We have nothing to lose and excellent health to gain. And, another thing I should mention is the Eon patch. I actually visited with an OBGYN recently at an event because there's 75% of the room at our first convention was medical doctors. So of 2,000 people, 75% of them were medical doctors utilizing the patch in their practices. So think about this. It might not be at the big box establishments like the Sanfords or the big hospitals, but if you go to more of those small independent practitioners, they are all in with alternative modalities to help their patients heal more effectively. Anyway, I was at this event and this medical doctor, this OBGYN came up to me and he said, Renita, have you heard about the Eon patch for the milk letdown? I was like, what? And he said, if women are having problems when they're nursing with their milk production, simply have them wear an Eon patch. He said, it is like unbelievable what happens with the milk production and how quickly and efficiently they are massive milk producers. And I was like, that is like the best information to tell a pregnant nursing mom who might be having problems, which I know I had that when with my last two pregnancies. The lady from Leche Leg was in there, trying to get the baby to suck, trying to get the milk to let down. I mean, just the stress of her trying to get it done with my boob was like probably not relaxing. And so I'm guessing that was making that milk worse. The milk situation was worse. And so, I mean, to know now that we can simply throw an Eon patch so easily on the back of the neck and let it roll. I mean, come on, and just let that body pull back to that parasympathetic state. Let that, and of course, the baby can feel that. So we haven't even discussed, hey, how is this affecting the baby that is now nursing from that more relaxed mom versus the cortisol driven mom? Right? That we know that transference of milk, that transference of nutrients, that transference of energy, right, is literally coming through there. So, I mean, how about having relaxed babies, right?
Yes. I'm
So
personally very excited to do my own study on this coming up because I've struggled with breastfeeding with 3 of my kids already. And it's something that I'm like very determined. So I'm doing tons of research. So I'm excited to test it out. And even just because I'll have another C-section, just how the patches are helping me recover because I do have a good baseline foundation, but even just the healing, I mean, things certainly aren't the same at 44 as they were in my 20s. Knowing that, but being able to have something that naturally moves me in a more youthful, easier recovery, like bring it. I need that. So
I'm thinking anything post-surgery that, the Eon would be great. The ice wave patches would be something else I'd bring in because that's for immediate pain relief. So you never have to use any type of ibuprofen or acetaminophen if you choose not to. And what most people don't know is post-surgery, the first 90 days are the most crucial because the collagen is laying down kind of that matrix. And if you interrupt that by taking large amounts of pain meds or ibuprofen, you're literally coming in there and you're not allowing that perfect matrix to form of that skin tissue, right? So that's where people end up having problems later on with scar tissue and this and that and the other thing. So I'm like, the least amount of those, even over the counter drugs that you can use, the better. I say put patches on, and post recovery and watch your body heal and restore and regenerate quickly, efficiently, and without all the negative side effects that we know a lot of those pain medications can cause. I know moms that got on pain medications and then they're constipated. I mean, as if it's not bad enough, post baby to have a bowel movement and now that chronic constipation sets in. So we could even utilize these patches for that. Just such amazing thing for our digestive health. I mean, we can go on and on and on, right? I mean, so which take do you want to talk about, right? Like, I feel like it's like top to bottom, it's going to be from the, getting pregnant process, right? The sperm process and the mom and lowering the inflammatory markers in the mother's body so she can carry effectively and all of that, all the way up to birth and then after birth, right? Like in not only the delivery, but then, okay, what happens after that? Oh my gosh, now we can utilize this phototherapy technology with our children, Like I always say, move over medicine cabinets. We've got health arsenals, phototherapy health arsenals. And we literally are teaching 2, 3, and 4 year olds how to patch themselves if something hurts. Like, I love this. You know what I mean? So we're just trying to pull it as far away from the drug world as we possibly can, say no to drugs and say yes to light, right?
I love that. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. There is definitely so much that we could talk about. So if somebody was like, first of all, if you go follow her on Instagram or social media, she's always got like just some real mic drop videos, and you can catch her workouts and all that. So if you don't mind sharing how somebody might be able to find you.
Yeah. So my name is Renita Brannan, Renita, Roan, Rhone, Brannan is Brannan, all A's. And yeah, I think I'm funny. I actually tell people to follow me because I'm quite funny. And so I love getting people laughing because I feel like the joy of the Lord really is our strength. And so many people have gone through so much stress in their lives, and it's time to recapture that joy, that sense of joy that we all can know what's in us. God put it there. We just got to activate that, right? And smile more, be more joyful. And sometimes just by reducing the stress, we're able to do that. But yeah, follow me there. But I mean, you've got a website they can go to like start on some of these patches. I would definitely say if you're considering doing this, definitely buying at the wholesale price, which is like basically joining Susan's team to become a brand partner. You can be a light worker with us. This is like the light team. And you just get on over there, and that way you're buying at the wholesale price always, and you don't have to ever worry about paying retail. And then when you love the patches, which you probably will, because we all do, you too can share, if you care, with people that you love and care about that may need this incredible phototherapy technology. So it's so easy. It's so easy for everybody. You know, I always say when good things come, they're simple, right? I've always said like they're simple. You know, it's like sometimes we make things so complicated and so complex, and then it's like, okay, put a patch on. It's like it just doesn't get any easier, than that. So yeah, I
It's way
appreciate you.
better than taking a whole slew of vitamins that don't taste the greatest, I think.
Right. And even if your stomach is not assimilating or absorbing of them, we had talked about that in Arizona. Like a lot of times people are taking handfuls of supplements, which I'm not anti-supplement. I think if you'd like to take them, take them. But how's your stomach health? Like if your stomach is not absorbing and assimilating that, you're kind of wasting your money. So if we get the light right and we get in there to restore, like it says, the stomach, which is what the GHKCU peptide is known for, it really helps with that stomach lining. And so if we get that healed up, it's, all that stuff that we are putting in those supplements, probably more likely to actually absorb and assimilate. You'll probably get a lot more out of your supplementation and probably have to take less of it.
For sure.
No, in all
For
honesty.
sure.
So, yeah. Susan,
Well,
you're great. Let's do this again. This is a blessing.
I would love that very much. Thank you so much. And we got to figure out, because my son is like literally, him and his girlfriend are dying to meet you. So we got to.
Oh, I'm coming back.
In AZ, we got to get together for sure.
I'm totally coming back. You tell them to get ready. And the young generation is grabbing hold of this, which I say, thank God the 20-year-olds are all getting a handle on this because, look at us, like 40, 50-year-old, I'm almost 50, so I'm older than you, but like, I think that many of my generation is getting it right, but half are still in the dark. Whereas that young generation, those 20-year-olds, I mean, you guys, this is our future. They are the ones asking the most questions. I love it. I love that they're embracing these natural modalities. They're like, I don't want to take the drugs. I don't want to take the pills. So I really appreciate when the 20-year-olds are grabbing a hold of this. So they are our future and they're awesome.
Yes, for sure.
It's awesome.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I look forward to doing this again soon.
All right. God bless you. And I'll pray for that little baby to come out safely and effectively, and for the mama to heal ultra fast in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Awesome. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining me on Conceiving After Vasectomy Reversal. I hope you're feeling encouraged and more hopeful on your journey to growing your family. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a little extra support. I absolutely love reading your reviews. They mean the world to me. Like seriously, words of affirmation are my love language. So let's stay connected. Find me on Instagram at conceivingafterVR and join our Conceiving After Vasectomy Reversal Facebook community for even more support and encouragement. I believe that God placed the desire for a child on your heart for a reason, and I'm grateful to walk alongside you in this season, to encourage you, and to help you find joy in the journey, trusting that His plan is greater than we could ever imagine.
Thanks for listening.